Welcome to the Weekly Coffee Drinkers. My name is Vinny. Today I'm co-hosted by Andre and Mark, and today we're going to talk about Diablo 4. So, Mark, you and I we started playing Diablo 4. This was like our first intro into the game or in the series. So, I just want to hear about your opinion and what you liked about it.
Um, I jumped into Diablo 4 with absolutely zero experience with it. And the main reason I got Diablo 4 was everybody was talking about it, and I just wanted to get a higher rank than Vincent here, um, just so I could talk trash. And I ended up downloading it. And my first reaction was like, ugh, just because I was not used to that top layer style viewpoint of gameplay. I'm typically when I'm playing games, it's typically either boring board games or just Far Cry first person shoot 'ems, stuff like that. So this was a little bit different. As I started progressing through it, I kind of started getting the general understanding of the game and the leveling up and all that type of stuff, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I ran into some difficulties because with the loadouts and stuff, and I remember at one point I did ask Andre, I was like, "So is this game just all kind of just spamming your button?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much." And I'm like, "Okay, so I'm not playing it wrong, like But then once I did some research on some different loadouts, and I got kind of more involved in it and set up my character correctly, I think it was fairly easy. Um, it wasn't too terribly complex. And I mean, I finally beat all the game, and I can honestly say I haven't really played it since. I've just been kind of like, meh. I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah.
It seems like pretty grindy, consistently, but overall, I thought it was a pretty fun game. So
Yeah. The thing that I liked about Diablo 4 was the the game developers did a great job designing the levels and like the map. Like the map looks great. The character designs are amazing. Like all those monsters you fight are, they're they're great. I love it. And I only bought it just because I wanted to play the Necromancer, and I didn't care about any other class. I just wanted to be the Necromancer, and playing that class was a lot of fun. I think I chose different abilities that were probably not the way to play, but I just wanted to see what it was like. Um, and I even like the weapons were cool. I like the design of like your character, and my issue was that, and the same thing with you. I'm not used to that like bird's eye view, and I think kind of like comparing it to almost like God of War, like the original God of War series, like that game had like a similar like look, kind of like bird's eye view
Yeah.
maybe, but it would change like the camera angles would change between like maybe bosses, like it would change the camera angle and everything. And then once God of War 4, when he's a little bit older and he's got the son Atreus, they changed the entire aspect of like the whole game. Like it's third person, it's closer, it's more grounded, and it's more of like an emotional story, and I love that. I thought that was great. I think that was a great direction, and I feel like this is something that Diablo 4 might have needed, at least in my opinion. I know Andre, you've played the third one, so, but like for me, I think for a fourth one, I think it needed to change it up a little bit, just because I didn't I wasn't really connected to my characters that much, like because it was just felt like I was just like viewing them from like up in the air, and they're just on the ground. I'm just like looking at them. It almost felt like Age of Empires. I don't care about those all those characters. They're just
Those-
yeah, they're just like soldiers almost, like whatever. But and the story, I didn't mind the story. Oh no, there we go.
It's camera that focus.
Whatever. There we go. So I didn't mind the story, but the voice acting, it was hit or miss. Some of the voice acting was like,
yeah,
it was kind of a thing.
some of them were really great, but also was playing as the necromancer, and like I'm not really big on like getting the best costume or whatever, but it was kind of cool to make my guy look super evil and
Mhm.
and gnarly.
Yeah.
And I always had this problem in the cutscenes where it'd be like the guy would all of a sudden just chime in with a voice that just did not fit my character. Like, no, you cannot do that. And it's kind of like, man, this dude, like, it would be kind of cool if you could change that tone maybe or something.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and the other thing that I found with it too is like, I thought the overall story was great. I do agree with when we spoke about this earlier, Andre, about the three tiers or whatever the acts are, and there's that one act that seems to kind of drag a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but for the life of me, it really seems like they do that really awesome cut scene at the end where they're fighting in hell and they're stabbing all the demons and everything, and it's really great. And then it's almost like they kind of were like, oh wait, we still have to finish the game, and kind of did a bunch of stuff last second because like the run up to fight Lilith at the end
It was
was
awesome.
yeah, but it was harder than fighting Lilith.
Right.
And
Yeah.
why is the butcher harder than Lilith? Like that's but anyways,
No, I fully agree with you, Mark, on that one. Like the build up, like the whole like first three acts, I was just like, oh, it's all right. I'm just trying to progress and progress. But at the end, like when you were going through that, I don't know, that almost like it was like a kingdom or something like that, and you're going through and fighting all those bosses, and then the cutscene.
Yeah.
Cutscenes are amazing. They did a great job with those cutscenes. I loved it. Um, but you
that
were.
was honestly my first thing on this game too. Like when I first started it up in that intro,
Mhm.
because I'm playing on the new Xbox, and that first intro where they're sacrificing the blood to open up whatever,
Yeah.
Right.
I was really taken aback on how great that looked and everything. And that's what really kind of sucked me into this right at the beginning was that whole intro thing of like, this is one game that I did not skip cutscenes.
Yeah.
I'd
No, I
sit and
agree.
watch them. And even though I didn't care about the dialogue, but the way that it was shot and the lighting and everything, I think they did a really great job on.
That is the thing that definitely stuck on from 3 to 4. Because I played 3 like when it first came out and everything like that, and I played a bunch of hours of that. And I would say like the cutscene and like the cutscene wise, I think they did take a step up. Although realistically, even in 3, the cutscenes are pretty good. But like you can tell the graphical fidelity of it got improved with this one. Like
Hmm.
it looked like there's like live action. Like if you were to tell me, yeah, oh no, they did that practically, I'm like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. Like it
Yeah.
looked really like high res basically, but um I think, and I like we were mentioning this too, Mark, about the story part where it's the beginning starts off really well, and then the ending's really good, but the middle part just kind of like drags. And I just think that like whether it's them having like that padding for like, I think you could have had Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4 kind of could have been mixed into 5 and just have like get rid of some of the fluff. And then there's another point that Vincent complained about having less of those moments where you're like, okay, we have to go do this thing, and then you go do the thing and it fails the first time. I was like, okay, we have to go gather all these resources again that we already just had before. That way we can do it. We can try it again. And it's like, okay, but why couldn't we just? Why do we need to do that?
I
If
hated
you're gonna,
those missions so
yeah,
freaking. They happened like 8 times. I was like, can we do a different like mission, please? Like it's always like, you gotta go over here. All right, we failed. We gotta go over here now. I'm like, what the,
you don't want to get backup. You didn't want to get like have a backup in case you failed.
yeah, right. I was just like, I don't know. I got tired of that mission, and like, I'm just gonna throw Hogwarts in here real quick. I've been playing Hogwarts. I haven't had a game like that. I haven't had a mission like that, and I'm like, in the second chapter. Or I'm like, I beat the first section. It's like the first season when you first start out, and then the season changes. So I'm in like that second part, but I've still done a bunch of missions. I haven't had a mission where it's like, well, this failed. Now I have to go over here and try and grab this thing so I can actually beat this one. I haven't had that, and I'm just like, oh, this is so much better.
In its defense, though, it is a different style of game where that is like a very common thing. Like, the same thing, like, oh, go kill 10 wolves to get their pelts and then I'll give you a
Hmm.
sword or whatever. It's the same kind of thing where it's just like a trope of like this kind of style of top down button clicking thing. And then it is interesting to me as well with something that Mark said. Like, from if you go to the character aspect of 3, It took them a while to get the transmog in, where you can like change your appearance.
Mm.
But this one had like right from the get go had a lot more interaction with your character, but like it is interesting for it to not let you kind of decide. Like usually, whenever you have something where it lets you design your character, it will also give you the choice of different voices, and it will have set lines for those voices. But it still gives you the voice that lets you adjust the voice to match the tone that your character will have, whether it's like the characteristics of the personality of it, or if it's just like how they sound.
Well, and like I'm not overly complaining about this, but like I have a really awesome skeleton mask,
Right?
and it sucks to have that removed every time it does a cutscene, and then my like all my skeleton guys disappear, and then my guy's just standing there like virtually naked, without his cool mask on, with a really lame voice. And for the first time in a game, I was actually a little bit bummed that my my clothing and attire didn't carry over into some of that stuff, you know. Again, I've never really been super into that type of stuff, you know. But like, if you look at my character from the top down view playing, and then compare that to a cutscene, like, yeah, they're night and day, and it's kind of odd that it changes so drastically. But
Yeah. And Andre, you and I talked about this one. You said like the reason like because it has to be bird's eye view because the amount of characters or NPCs you're fighting, right? I still
Right.
think it could have been in third person. Like I think if like because your character is really OP, right? Your character's OP. He's got a lot of health, you know, and you have health vials or whatever to heal you. And I think to have like the action or whatever the fighting, you know, scenes feel a little bit more impactful is to have it like closer to your character, like you're more in the battle. Like I would say like you ever played Killing Floor?
Yes, I
That
played Counter a
yeah,
couple times.
like the zombie game. There's a lot of zombies coming at you, and you're in first person, and like it. Yeah, it is hard to like maybe see, but I think that's the whole point. Is like it's so chaotic, like
I
you
think that
get kind of stressed out, like oh my god. And I feel like that could have they could have maybe changed the look and everything and gameplay style with that.
well, I feel like that's the difference, well, at least for this style of game, with the fact that like you're having things come from you at all sides. Because in Killing Floor, I know that that is more of an open arena thing, but it's still typically like you're not really being pressed on from all sides, or like you have more control. You have more like of a way to get yourself in a way in a situation such that you're able to have everything coming at you from one or two angles.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going through dungeons in this one, everything's going to be coming at you from all angles at some point.
Right.
And then you're also it's just the scope of the way that the abilities work, because if you have a trade-off then if you're trying to aim this ability that's going to hit like this large area, but you're in third person, so you're like kind of have they would have to like make a projection. It's I don't know if like if you play like Mass Effect or really any kind of any third person shooter game that had like abilities on it,
Mm-hmm.
like Destiny for instance also was a first person thing. Like you still have like the highlight of the scope of where the ability would go at, but it would be taken away from you doing like an instant cast of it or instantly putting it down in this area you want to,
Mm-hmm.
because you're having to make sure it's gonna have to it would have to have you confirm the placement of the ability rather than you just casting it.
Do you think like if they changed the camera angle or the aspect to almost like a World of Warcraft because it's Blizzard, right?
Yeah,
Blizzard
that was
does
it.
World of Warcraft as well, right?
Yep.
And how they play, like the camera is like behind the character, but there's still a lot of space so you can see like a good chunk of like around you.
But arguably, at the point that you're making an RPG game that's going to have abilities and casting and stuff like that, and it's going to be in that same style of World of Warcraft, why would you
Mm-hmm.
make or play World of Warcraft at that point?
Mm. I don't know. I think
so for somebody that obviously hasn't played World of Warcraft either, like what are the main differences between this and World of Warcraft?
I played a little bit of World of Warcraft, like not like any of the high tier stuff. I'd say that this is Diablo 4 is more in line with the World of Warcraft in the sense that like there is like you're able to see other people in the world and like you might do some activities with them and stuff like that. I think where it differs primarily though is that you have a lot more abilities on the keys for World of Warcraft. I think you have like something. I think you can either have all your top row of numbers as abilities, and there's like as options you can assign, and maybe even like a second tab of that. Um, there's different class structure and there's different like gearing, and then there's also the ability to have like secondary jobs. It's like so you can have like a tailor job or a blacksmithing job, as well as your main class that you might work on. And then also just kind of the scope of the world and the fact that this one's not technically a subscription service. Uh, oh, hang on, my headset just came out.
I can still hear you. Oh, you can't hear us.
Yeah, my headset came out. Um, but so that'd be the factor there for World of Warcraft. Whereas Diablo is just kind of supposed to be this: you're fighting masses of enemies and you're just clearing things out. And you're kind of trying to. This one doesn't have it yet. They have claimed recently that they're going to be working on more push style content, which is like kind of trying to get higher difficulties to get like better loot to gear with, and then like trying to kind of max out like how high your build can go. And there's like a lot more build diversity in this as opposed to something like World of Warcraft.
I mean, I did enjoy the game. I could really see how this would be a lot of fun to like play with like a group of friends together. Like what do they call that group? Uh, a guild,
A guild, a clan.
Like a clan, a little group.
Yeah, clan.
Yeah.
I could see how that would be a lot of fun to get a bunch of friends together and like go and just massacre everything.
Yeah.
See, that's what I thought. Like with Lilith, right? Because she's literally the big bad. She's kind of like she was almost like Darth Vader, throughout the whole game. Like, it's just like this build up of like, oh, she's gonna be like really powerful. She's gonna be hard as hell. I versed her by myself. I did die like 3 times just because the dodge mechanic sucks in that game. I hate that dodge mechanic because there's a time limit on it and it kept on messing me up. But I think for that ending, if they gave you like a little like warning sign saying like Lilith is very hard, you might want to have some friends with you or something, so then you can like at the end, bring in like your friends or whatever, like get a group and like go in and destroy her. I think that would have been kind of nice to have.
They tell you you're gonna fight Lilith.
Yeah, but they don't say like, hey, she's gonna be this powerful. She wasn't that powerful. She was just kind of like.
I
Yeah.
I ran into the issue with that right as when you came in and you first see Elias, or whoever the hell it is, when they're
Elias.
sacrificed. Yeah, Elias. Third time. Third time on all these things, I'll get it. But when they're like cutting that lady on the altar or whatever, and you fight that big.
The Cannibal King or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He was intense.
I thought he was really, really difficult. And there was a point where Andre actually was like, well, I'll help you beat him if you want, And I was like, yeah, I might have to take you up on that. You might want to sell your service online to help other people like me because, like, I can't beat that guy. But it was right after that point where I started kind of revamping my build and my mechanics and everything. And then I went in there and I just whooped them. And then I just whooped everything after that. So I think a lot of it is just kind of knowing the play style that you want to play and what kind of works. Because like what I have is that, I mean, the corpse explosion, but I also have that entrail thing that will go out and grab it. Yeah, and grab them and bring them together into one group.
That one. I had the corpse explosion one, but I didn't have that one.
Because I found that if I do that and I bring them all in, my minions are sitting there attacking, and then I can just corpse explosion and then shoot them with my essence ability or whatever a bit. And then, and then it's on to the next one, Yeah. And that's essentially what I ended up doing with Lilith as well. So I didn't really struggle too bad. And I do take that back, that cannibal corpse guy that he
just head banging the entire time.
Yeah, he it was a little bit after that I ended up changing my class. I ended up finally beating him after I leveled up a little bit. And I
Right.
was kind of complaining because, like, for the longest time, I only had the 3 potions, like the
Oh,
three
so you
health
had to upgrade
potions.
your coat. You had.
And then, yeah, and I talked to Andre about it. He's like, oh, no, dude, you got to go upgrade the stuff. And so I started going and upgrading things and whatnot. And I mean, now I have 9, which
Yep.
is just way too much. Like I'm constantly hitting the thing, and I'm constantly getting the thing like you're full of health, and I'm like, dude, I just killed like 55 people. What the heck? It's like, you're full of health.
You're all
So,
good. You're groovy. Don't worry about it.
yeah,
See, I had Andre help me with what's the dude on the three-headed dog thing?
I
What
don't
was it?
remember his name, but it's like the end. It's the end of the Act Two boss. It's like the Act Two
Yeah,
boss.
he's got the crystal in his like forehead and everything. I
hmm
like I went in there. I died like, and I thought this was the reason Andre came in and texted me saying, "Do you need help?" Because I died at least like 10 times, and my thing on the corner kept on saying, "Vinny Muffaletta is dying. He's dying. He's dying. He's dead. He's dead." And then I thought he saw that and said like, "Do you need me to help you?" And, like I was like,
I
"Please."
think I actually said like, "Oh, do you want to play any today or something like that?"
Yeah. So he joins in, and I literally don't do anything. Andre just goes because he was a higher level.
Yeah, I was
What were you at? Like 60?
I was like 60 or 63 or something like that. It was pretty. I had like was working into the different world tiers and stuff like that by that point.
Yeah. So you stroll in and you just. I was in the corner. I'm just like in the corner, and I'm watching the health bar of the dude just slide down, and I'm just in the back going like, I'm doing stuff. Don't worry. I'm just throwing like things. So and
Well,
then
that'll be
like
the funny
yeah.
thing about Vincent because he won't know what he is doing necessarily in the game. So he's playing on World Tier 2 by himself for no reason.
Yeah, I
He's like, man, I keep
was.
dying in this fight. And I'm like, yeah, because you're playing on, like, there's no reason to play on World Tier 2 solo currently. Well, at least when the game first came out. There might be, I think they made more of a reason to try to do it now.
Mhm.
But,
Did you do the whole thing on World Tier 2, Vincent?
no, he
Or
Almost.
you switched back?
I switched out just I think it was like somewhere after that boss because I was like I can't I'm dying. I was dying constantly. So I was just like I after that I think I did switch. So like at least the first act and
yeah,
like the second act I was in world tier 2 the entire time. And then after that I was like I'll just go to tier 1 and just kind of casually go through it. But yeah, so I was beating you on that one, Mark. So I was a little bit better than you on that one.
Well, not really, but sure.
And then the
Um,
thing that I think everybody here can agree with is that it takes too long to get the horse.
Way too long. Why? Why? It doesn't need a.
I think the main reason why it takes so long is so you can build up, because I mean you're you're constantly running into people. I mean, who would ever want to live in that world?
Yeah.
Like you walk right outside the town and there's werewolves and vampires and shit. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just wake up. You're like, all right, honey, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go outside. I'll be right back. Hopefully, maybe. I'm just gonna. You know.
Yeah. I actually got the horse and then I forgot that I had the horse because I spent so
Yes.
much time without a horse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there, and I remember because Jacob was sitting down there watching me play, and I finished something that was one of those things where you failed and then you have to go way over here or something or collect something else. And I'm like, oh man. And Jake made the comment, he's like, geez, that's far. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of short little maps though. It's not too bad. And I started walking over there, and then I remembered, I was like, oh, I have a horse. And then jumped on the horse, and. But one thing I do got to say about the map stuff too is like being new to that game, like there was always a bit of confusion, just with the different view and going into dungeons and exploring the new areas and trying to see how to get to where you need to get to or whatever. They really did it, at least for me. I think they did a great job because it became intuitive really quickly.
Mm.
Like I wasn't like getting into like an area and just running around in circles like I don't know where to go. Like I always
Right.
felt like I knew exactly where to go. I mean, there was a couple times I may have missed like a doorway or something, but I mean, I don't know if I should admit this, but there's been times like in Far Cry where I'm literally like walking around in circles because I have no clue where to go and I missed this little tiny alleyway or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't feel that too much with this game. I felt like with as big as it is and all the little side dungeons and all those little things like that, I always kind of knew where I was or where to get to or whatnot. And I do got to say that exit dungeon feature is awesome. So you don't have to backtrack all the way out.
Yeah.
It is funny because it did technically in this recent patch, they extended it the animation time or like the casting time of the lead engine thing to by 2 seconds for some reason.
Why?
I don't know. I have no idea why they did that.
Okay. I want to talk about that,
The patch.
the patch in like yeah season one and everything, because you've played it. Mark and I haven't played it because we were like all right we're kind of like done, and so I haven't played it because for like the season one and like the new patch and everything is because there's no new class. Like it's just the same characters. I don't really like the druid. Maybe like I'm kind of interested in that character and that class, but the other ones I'm like I don't really care about. Like the only reason why I wanted to play Diablo was the necromancer, and that was it. So and since season one came out or was announced, there's no class. So I was just like, okay, I don't, whatever. But and Mark, I don't know why you haven't. You probably just because it's the same reason almost.
Too busy.
Busy, and I don't know. I'm sure I'll revisit it at some point. You know, I guess I'm still kind of just lost because like I don't fully grasp what the season is. Like I don't know what any of this is. Like we just played the game. Like is it fall now? Like
Is it
what
fall?
what
It's
what
going through
changes?
different seasons.
Yeah. Is this like Forza where like now we're in the winter time and your car doesn't handle as well? Like yeah,
So
like
kind of actually right now that's the more or less kind of what it is. So what it the season typically is. So I'll use three as the example because that's what I have the most experience with the seasons for. Typically with three, what it would be is that you would have a patch go through first, and it would just change. It would weaken some skills, buff some other skills. There'd be like maybe a new few legendary items added into the pool that you can get, and then you would have a set that is featured for the season. In Diablo 3, we had like sets of armor where if you wore two pieces of the same set, you got a special bonus, and usually that would change your skills or your make you do more damage with a particular skill, or just like change the way that you interact with stuff. If you wear three pieces, you got another thing, and it will all still be in this line with the same skill. So I'll use there's a set for like the wizard in 3 where it would improve the damage that your magic missile would do. So it would, I think like the first one made it where you got all the rune effects of the magic missile, which would be like the different branch things for 4. So let's say you got both branches of your basic attack, and then third set was like you cast an additional magic missile every time you cast it, and then the fourth one was it makes it do like 4,000% more damage or something like that.
Yeah, and
And
also
so
Mark, I just want to mention seasons are just meant for money, and that's it. It's just money.
but
yes,
It's just meant for money.
but I guess my main question is
I'm getting to the part right now. So before right now, they have what they'll do that the season pass where you get like some cosmetic stuff, and then but gameplay wise what they're doing is at least for this one they have added these gems that you can get on these different rings, and you get them pretty early in because I played a little bit today for the season. You get them pretty early, and there's different like hatred hearts that you pick up that you can socket into the rings. And so I played a little bit of the necromancer, and one of the heart effects was um, I think it was like every 8 seconds or so, it would automatically cast whatever corpse ability I had on whatever corpse ability I have equipped. So I had gotten to the point where I had corpse explosion. So if I was just near a corpse, it would just do the corpse explosion automatically and do damage to the enemies. So I had made sure I had like skills that were like dropping corpses a bunch, even if the enemy wasn't dead yet. And I have seen people have like use the effect where it's like, oh, you can just go ahead and have corpse tendril proc every few seconds automatically without having to do anything.
But overall, game wise, like it's still the same map.
It's still the same map. They add like a different story part to it. Like so there's something to do with like I haven't played that much of the story yet, or like it's still a little like confusing about I don't listen to dialogue all that often,
Yeah.
but it's like basically there's like the hatred from Lilith spreading throughout the region, and like you're trying to find out what that's about, and then they give you like a little short story quest line to go through. But primarily, it's just that uh, primarily the appeal of the seasons typically is that they change the way some skills work. You're starting over, you're making a new character, and then you're trying to get whatever the new feature is, which for this one is the different gem effects that you can basically have socket into gear.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a way to mix up the different builds and the gameplay flow of it, because that is the fun of Diablo to me. I saw a good analogy of this, which is that the fun part of Diablo is like Legos, where it's the building of it. It's not the actual like finished product. You have like building up the character and like seeing like what different skills you can play with each season is usually the appeal of the seasons for Diablo.
Kind of like Fuddruckers. You guys know what Fuddruckers was?
Isn't that a restaurant?
Yeah, it used to be a restaurant, but how it was it was like a burger bar where you would order like your patty or whatever, and then they
Mm-hmm.
had like almost like a salad bar out there, and the pill was like making your own burger however you want it, putting
Oh.
whatever toppings on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So yeah, it's kind of like that.
Hmm.
So it's like that's why like this patch wasn't received that well but the pre-season patch wasn't received that well because they nerfed a bunch of stuff unilaterally. Like they made it vulnerable damage less effective. They made vulnerable status effect on enemies less effective. They kind of reduced people's survivability, and it just felt like they were slowing the game down to drag out the season slash like just kind of across the board like hey be like, oh hey this effect makes you guys feel really powerful, we're gonna take that away and make you guys feel a little weaker that way, you know.
You can
I
But
keep
did
playing.
see I did see there was a bunch of uproar on that, and apparently they came back out and said that they went a little bit too far with it and they're gonna
yeah,
refix it or whatever.
Oh,
But
the fans changed their mind and everything.
yeah,
Ah, they went
well,
back on it.
yeah, so what they have said is that like so they have communicated they said they're going to communicate a lot better with the thing, so like what we're going to get now is like I think we're either getting we're getting the patch notes like at least a week or two beforehand that people can like they can see like hey is this like going to be fun, because I think like there is a part of like design the game however you want to design it, but if you're going to design it in a way where it's not going to be fun for your fan base, what's the point?
Well, I think that was the problem with Diablo 4 was that like the story is not that long. It's literally the beginning and the ending, and there was just a lot of fluff in that middle of like just dragging it on. But again, the story wasn't that long. So now like, a lot of people who are fans that are hardcore fans like you, Andre, you beat the game in like what, 8 hours?
I think I beat no, not 8 hours. I beat the game like that weekend that it came out, so it came out that Thursday or whatever. I beat it by the end of that weekend.
Okay, so you beat it in a weekend. So
Yeah.
after that weekend, what's going to happen is people are going to just start
Well,
slowly playing
especially
it. So now with the season, like this with the seasons mark, that it's supposed to like bring more players up to like play it. But now because Blizzard screwed themselves a little bit by nerfing everything, it pissed off the fans, and now what
yeah,
is
they
the
review
rating
bombed it.
now? What's the rating at everyone now?
Let's see if it went back up at all. I'm looking it up right now. But I did. They review bombed it because it was at like a 9 before, and then after that patch went out for that people had like dropped it. When I saw it last, it was at okay. Right now it's at 2.3, which is lower. The user score is a 2.3 on Metacritic, which is a wolf.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that's a little. I do think that's a little like childish. We're like, oh, okay, we're gonna review bomb the game, blah blah blah.
No,
But I
I
mean,
yeah.
it is also frustrating because, like, to me, this is such an easy game to design. It's easy money because all it is just like, hey, let's make sure we have like some builds that are like, yeah, let's let build be powerful. And this is something they have actually said they're gonna let builds be powerful for a period of time and like let people enjoy those, and then they will make a patch where they bring some things down and raise other stuff up. I think that's the perfect way to design that because all you have to do is just let people feel powerful. but
And then bring new abilities for them to
yeah,
use, and then
give them a reason to use something else,
yeah,
and
have
then
nice
add different
rotation.
legendary effects and add different like things. They haven't mentioned anything about a new class yet, so I don't think we're getting one for season 2 yet at this point.
They
It
need
might be a while.
I want them to have a vampire class. Can there be a vampire in there somewhere?
There
Right?
is.
Because
You just
there's
gotta play
vampires
Diablo
in that game,
Immortal.
right? There's vampires.
You just gotta play Diablo Immortal.
I don't want to play another game. I just want to play that one. But all right.
So hypothetically though, like if you guys were going to give this game a score out of 10, obviously 10 being the best.
Yeah.
And we're talking pre-patch, like, what would you guys give this?
It's a good.
6.9. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I would give it like I had fun. I like the character designs. The abilities were fun. I think for me personally, if they change some of the aspects, and we all know which one, like just the look, like where the camera is and everything, because I just want to. I know, that's just me because I want to appreciate. The game developers did a great job. They designed it. I want to experience that, and I want to appreciate that. But I would give it a 7.5. My honest opinion, I would give it a 7.5, and I think that's a fair rating for that game.
Mark, go ahead.
My my rating is going to be a bit higher, and it's probably just because I literally came into this game not knowing anything about it, never played one. And at the very beginning, I mean, I looked at some YouTube videos of the gameplay and stuff beforehand, and I was kind of like, this does not seem like something I would be interested in. Seems like a lot of running around and pressing a button. Yeah, I don't know.
Did you watch my gameplays, Mark? Did you watch them or no?
No, I did watch one of your reviews, and I was like, your reviews are just cutscenes.
Yeah.
There's no
because
fighting,
you're right. It's just I'm running around. I'm just walking
The
along.
beginning of the game is a lot of cutscenes.
So anyways, but once I got the game and I started going through it and I saw that opening scene and I started playing it, I really enjoyed it. Like most things, there's a little bit of weirdness. Like there's a little bit of, I don't know, some stuff's kind of drawn out a bit and kind of some fluff in there. But I would give this a solid 8.5 to 9. It definitely made me interested in the thought of, maybe checking out Diablo 3.
That's a really good one.
It also made me, I'm kind of been trying to get my kid into wanting to get it because I think it'd be fun for him and I to play starting over together, and stuff, and I could do a new class.
Father and son duo.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works in terms of for like console, but I think you can play like co-op on the same screen for the console part, because at least in 3 you definitely can do that, but I think in 4 you can also, because and then you just be sharing a screen.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that, but yeah, I'm like, and again, I'm kind of been talking to a couple of my other buddies and stuff. Like, I have one buddy, Ed, who's super into D&D and stuff. Like, plays D&D every Wednesday night and everything. And I mean, kind of trying to talk some people into kind of getting this game, because we used to game quite a bit, and then everybody just kind of got busy and stuff, and we haven't really been doing it that often. But because I think he would enjoy this game too. So I think it's a solid, it's a pretty high score for me on that.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5, and the reason why I would say is because of the difference of I just really like 3, and I feel like it's very jarring to me how many positive, like, because like 3 was in a similar state of like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff that could add to there. Oh man, like, this could be a little better, this could be that, but like they had the formula and the layout for 3 down a lot quicker than they have right now for 4, and or like I could play hours of 3, even the base game of it, and still be like, okay, sure, fine, whatever. Like I think in college when I first got it, I would just like put that on. I'd watch like 3 or 4 seasons like Grey's Anatomy and Netflix while I was just playing Diablo on my Xbox or on my computer, and then I think I even watched like The Walking Dead because I think I also played it in my freshman year. But and the other reason why is because I would say that this one's worse to me than 3 is because of how slow it currently feels to level up from 50 to 100. Because it just when you're going to 1 to 50, that's fine and it feels good because you're constantly getting like new skills at it. You're constantly having those skill points to play around with. Then 50 to 100, they have you get the Paragon levels, and I like the Paragon board, and I like the way that those different aspects kind of help your build kind of become your own to a degree. But you don't get to play around with customizing as much because it's so costly to respec things. And then also, it just kind of feels pointless going from 50 to 100 and just getting Paragon levels, even if you get 4 per level, because you get it at every quarter of the level bar after you get to 50. But I feel like at the point that I'm not getting a skill point anymore, we should have just had the Paragon bar be like a separate thing. Like, 'cause that's what it is in 3. After you get to 70 in Diablo 3, you just start getting the Paragon bar, and you're getting the 1 point, but it has 4 different core aspects that you're leveling up. So I think in that one, you can get to Paragon like 500, I want to say, before you have maxed out everything. It's like either Paragon 400, Paragon 500, but it doesn't feel like a waste of time in the sense of because once you get to 100 in this one, you stop getting anything. Like I would legitimately say that outside of beating like Uber Lilith, because there is a harder version of Lilith to fight later on. Outside of doing that, there's no reason to play the game after you got the character to 100 because you're not getting anything. Whereas for Diablo 3, you can get to the max once you have maxed out all the 4 or 5 different stats that you have leveled up in each of those 4 core sections. You still are getting the points, so you can get to like Paragon 1000 and just put all that into your main your character's main damage stat, and you're just improving yourself constantly,
See,
passively.
I like that. That sounds pretty good.
So I hope we get back to that kind of a thing, and then also just having like nice little like so in Diablo 3 also we had Nephilim Rifts, which were little instance dungeons that you could run, and they might have different like you wouldn't be going into the same background in the dungeon in there because um they had you might start off the first part in a hell looking thing, then it might turn to a farm cow level thing, and it might have a whole rift section that's just goblins, that's just loot goblins.
Okay.
And so it's like different things you can run into, and I really like that. And it was also you could add more difficulty to it by running a higher one, but it would drop you gems that had different effects, and it would add new ones every season. That was another thing. But so to encapsulate this, uh, I would give it a 7 just because it's not in a
Oh, you dropped it
complete.
down. You said 7.5.
I said 7. I said 7, 7.5.
Oh, okay.
But
It got worse as he talked.
yeah,
He was like, "That's an 8. It's 7.5.
it gets
It's a
one
7."
point for every level I got, for every 10 levels I got, while going through the game before I was like, okay, I don't want to play this anymore. I got to 70, so it gets a 7.
Okay. All right. Fair.
What system are you guys all running this on?
I'm on my computer.
I'm on my PS5, and it runs. It runs great.
Yeah, I was
so.
just going to ask if you guys had any issues because there's one time I had a slow connection getting in, and maybe twice, maybe 3 times there was a little bit of rubber banding happening, but other than that, it's ran incredibly smooth.
I did have that one day playing. I had like I was freezing a little bit. Like I would like be stuck at one point, and then it would just jump cut to like where I would be, and like I had that for one sit down, but that was it.
Most of that was like the server connection because they did have like some server issues at certain
Yeah,
points. And
there
the
was
same thing.
one point where I actually it was kind of late at night, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this part, but I'll do it, whatever, you know. And then I ended up getting kicked out, and that just put me back to the main screen, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll just shut it down now.
I
You know,
remember
it
that.
was kind of my
We were like, it's a
side.
sign, Mark. It's time to go to
Yeah,
bed.
yeah. So, but other than that, I haven't really had any issues with it running. So
All right. Well, Mark, if you do start up again with Jake and everyone, we should definitely do a group. Like we'll all join and group up, and I'll change my
yeah,
character. I'll try the druid. So see how that class is.
I need
Mark's gonna play
to.
the druid.
That's what I'm gonna play. Damn it! No.
Stop copying me, Mark.
I need to do some maintenance on my Xbox too, because I need to figure out how to get my Discord set up on it. I don't think it's too difficult.
It's
Yeah,
not too bad.
I need to do that on my PlayStation as well. Yeah.
You did that already.
No, I haven't done that.
Okay. Well, it's not too bad. It's
Do you think I do things? No, I don't do anything. What are you talking about? I barely did this. So I was struggling to get this going. Okay.
For listeners, this is technically episode 2 of the podcast, but
Yes.
because somebody had some technical difficulties with the first episode.
Yes, it was supposed to be Spider-Man stuff, and I forgot to. Well, I didn't forget. I recorded my voice, but I thought I had the wrong slider, and I put my slider down for my microphone, so there was no audio for me. But
He said, "I'm a little too loud, so let me just turn myself all the way down."
yeah, you don't need to hear my voice. I did listen to it. I listened to it, and it was just like nothing, 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 and then Andre's voice, and then Mark, and then nothing, nothing, nothing. It's just like what? So, but all right, I think this was good. I think this was a good review. So, Mark, your rating was 8.59, somewhere around there, like a 9, 8.5.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And then Andre, yours is a 7.57.
7.5, yeah.
All right, we're in the same boat. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate it.
Next time, we're going to get Vincent to play Destiny.
No.
Yes.
I'll play if Mark plays.
Okay.
Destiny.
Destiny 2.
What's that all about?
That's like that's a shooter, and it's a space shooter, and there's like different abilities and stuff like that.
Is that the one that's kind of like Halo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's made by the same people.
Yeah, same people. I think Mark, you would like not Halo. Sorry, I think you would like Destiny, Mark, just because it has like space cowboys kind of style. Like Andre, you're the Destiny fan. I'm not, but I would say it's like a weird space cowboy kind of a thing. You know.
Well, you know what? If Vincent gets like 100 likes, we'll get everybody to play Destiny.
Oh, we'll play. Yeah, we'll do a let's play. All right, all three of us, and we'll do a Destiny. I'm not gonna fucking do it.
Yeah, 100 likes, Vincent. 100 likes. You're your little fledgling podcaster. So you get 100 likes in the video. You gotta play Destiny.
All right, that's fair. I will play Destiny if we get 100 likes. It's not gonna happen, but if it does, I will do it. We'll play Destiny together. Okay.
All right,
The right way this time.
All right. You guys say goodbye to the viewers. All right, say goodbye.
Have a good one, everybody.
All right, see you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.